All right, so I personally came up to the mountaintop to show you guys exactly why you're not scaling in SMA and also how to scale extremely fucking fast. This is going to be more of a mindset video than anything. It's going to be probably my best video I've ever made, to be honest. And if you don't watch the end, this is the reason why you're not going to make it, because your dopamine is so fried. But I'm not really going to talk about dopamine today. The main thing I'm going to talk about is the top 3 key pillars, and it's essentially a triangle of truth. And once you figure this out and you optimize all 3 things, you essentially just automatically win, right? So there's actually 4 points, but I'll kind of leave the last point to the last because it's obviously the most important one. So first one, right? And also once you identify this and once you understand this, your whole entire worldview is going to change, right? So, okay guys, so at the top, it is identity / self-image. So let me give you guys a quick analogy. So there's this thing called a cybernetic system, right? And essentially what this means is it's a system where no matter how far you go off, right? So let's just I'll give you guys 2 quick examples. So for example, the temperature, right? If there's a thermometer, right? And essentially a thermometer, let's just say on an actual thermostat in your house, which is, let's just say like it's at 75 degrees Fahrenheit, right? I'm actually Canadian, but let's just do it for the Americans, or like whatever it is, 20 degrees Celsius, whatever it is. So no matter how hot the room gets, there's going to be an air con that automatically gets turned on if it gets up to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, right? So let's just say that it's at 75 right now and it goes up to 80 degrees. Now that system is going to turn on. It's a cybernetic system that's going to turn on to lower it back down to 75 degrees. So what I'm getting at this, you might be thinking like, what the fuck is this guy talking about on top of the mountain? But this is the reason why you're not scaling, is because your identity is at 75 degrees. Your identity is at your old self. So no matter how hard you try with willpower, it's always going to automatically go back down to that 75 degrees and back down to that old self. So whenever you try to use willpower in your life to essentially just make a change, like start an agency and, obviously scaling it and stuff like that, it's not going to work because you're still in your old identity. And it's just, no matter how hard you try with how much willpower, no matter how much you get past that 75 degrees, it's always going to scale back down, right? Because the mind is always going to protect itself and essentially just bring it back into its old self, right? This is obviously from teachings of Carl Jung. Now, once you actually fix this, you're going to be able to scale and essentially achieve anything you want in life, because that's exactly what I've done, right? If you guys don't know me, I literally went from $0 in my mom's basement to Dubai penthouse in literally 12 months. Now, this might seem super guru, but the only reason I did this so fast was because I'm constantly changing my identity, right? So if you guys read the book Psycho Cybernetics, he literally talks about this as well, where it's the cybernetic system, just in a psycho format, right? So obviously your self-image. So what I'm doing right now is I'm constantly using things like subliminals and also visualizing. So subliminals, and I'll also write down a few other stuff on actually how to change it. And if you don't understand this, like I said, you're never going to make it, right? No matter how hard you try, and no matter how much confidence you have, you're never ever going to make it. So you must understand this very important thing. So what are subliminals? Now, subliminals are essentially subconscious affirmations, right? So it's essentially affirmations that are too quiet for your conscious mind, so it can't even accept nor reject it. It only just goes straight to your subconscious, right? So it's so quiet that you can't even hear it, right? But it's going to go straight to your subconscious. So essentially how the subconscious works is essentially a tape recorder, and it records every single thing of your past life. So this is essentially going to make up all your decisions, all of your beliefs, your programming, your actions. Literally every single thing that you do in your life is 95% of the time subconscious, right? This is also from Carl Jung. He's a famous psychologist. If you're able to program your subconscious in the right way, which is going to reflect in your identity, then you could literally get whatever the fuck you want in life, right? This is the exact thing I did to go from my mom's basement to Dubai penthouse in 12 months, right? And no other YouTuber on this platform has ever done that ever. And it's because they don't understand this thing point. So obviously some of them might understand it, but I literally took it to the next level. When I was first starting my journey in SMMA, I literally was just going fully all in on visualizing daily, right? So that's actually the second point. Now, also going back to subliminals. So when you are listening to subliminals, it is actually going to reprogram your entire subconscious mind. So I've done this to do literally everything I want in life. Now, for example, right, I was having a tough time putting on a bit of muscle, and I kept on only eating 2 meals a day, right? And this, no matter how early I woke up, I would automatically just not starve myself, but I just would avoid eating to automatically match that 2 meals a day, because my self-identity was still that skinny kid. Now, what happened is I started listening to subliminals, and I literally replayed those subconscious affirmations, and I kept on telling myself that I was eating 3 meals a day and that I wasn't skinny anymore. And what happens is I started eating 3 meals a day, and then I put on a bit of muscle. So this is exactly how it works. And you can do the exact same thing in SMA, right? Anyways, going back to visualizing. So there was this one scene I kept on visualizing, and it was actually, and also guys, by the way, so for some context, I started my first initial nightmare mode or monk mode in September 1st, 2022. And pretty much what happened is I fully just cut out absolutely everybody, right? And this is actually going to be and I'm also going to talk about the second triangle pretty soon. But the main thing I was doing in that period was obviously working a lot of 12, 14-hour days. But the big thing I was doing is actually visualizing. So I was visualizing a certain scene, and I was actually talking to my dad in that scene. And I said, Dad, I hit 10K a month. And I literally showed him my Stripe account and I was visualizing this. The scene hadn't really happened yet, but I kept on, well, it hadn't happened at all, but I kept on visualizing that certain scene. And literally a few weeks later, that exact scene played out. So when you visualize with emotion, this is literally going to leave impressions in your subconscious, and it's going to change, and it's literally going to lead you to make actions and beliefs and programs in a certain way, which is going to get you to that scene. So the more you just program your subconscious, it's going to get you there way faster. So another thing is actually obviously affirmations as well. Pretty similar to subliminals, but I won't really get too much into that. Next thing is actually who you surround yourself with, right? So this is going to come down to the environment a lot. Okay, so the next one is actually environment. So when I was first starting out in my first initial monk mode in 2022, September 1st, when I actually first got my first mentor and also joined a course as well, essentially, I literally actually moved hometowns and I cut out absolutely everybody. I didn't talk to anyone for literally 3 months, and I essentially just went fully ghost. I also broke with my girlfriend as well. So when I did all these actions, it completely changed my identity. And when I took those actions, I just knew that I had to do that, because the only way to drastically change your life is obviously change your environment, which is going to change your identity. So actually, the person filmed this right now, he was actually one of my original friends, so I cut off. Sorry, Jack, but I actually had to do it. And now I'm actually helping him scale his SMA, which is also pretty cool. So next thing is actually environment. Now, what happens in your old environment is the same thing, right? And actually, it's exactly what's happening right now to me. Is I'm back in my own hometown right now, and I'm kind of falling a bit back into my old self, right? I'm currently doing about 100K a month profit after tax, 21. This is pretty guru, but whatever. I'm just giving you guys some context. So, and I'm almost like dropping in revenue a bit because my identity is still in this old self. Now, what I'm doing right now is I'm probably going to even fly to Dubai or Cape Town tomorrow just to drastically change my environment, because I need to get that new identity up again, right? So that's that when it comes to identity. I could go on a lot more about this, but let's just go into the other principles. So next one is actually paradigms. So paradigms / belief systems, which slightly ties into identity as well, but it's way more advanced. Now, what I mean by paradigms is essentially paradigms is the way you actually view the world, right? So, and this is extremely, extremely important, because if you don't have the right paradigms, you're never going to hit 10K a month, right? If you don't have the right identity, you're never going to hit 10K a month. You're always going to fall back no matter how hard you try. So what I mean by paradigms is, let's just say that, for example, right? This is so important because, for example, let's say you have the paradigm or the belief that cold email is annoying. And especially, let's just say cold email follow-ups is super annoying, right? Cold email follow-ups are super annoying to business owners, and they don't get any responses, and it's just not going to work, right? What you're doing by having that belief is you're literally limiting yourself, because what's going to happen is you're not going to send those follow-ups. Therefore, you're not going to get as many responses, because that is the reality. And therefore, you're not going to get as many bookings. Therefore, you're not going to get as many sales calls. Therefore, you're not going to get as many clients. And therefore, you're not going to get as much revenue. And therefore, it's going to slow your growth to 10K a month. So another example of this is, let's say you think that cold calling just doesn't work as well, right? You think that cold calling doesn't work, or let's just say that you think SMA is extremely fucking hard, right? Or let's just say that you even think that SMA is going to take you 2 years to hit 10K a month, right? That's a lot of guys will happen to them. And the more time you think it's going to take you, that's exactly what's going to happen, right? Let me explain this better. So if you think it's going to take you 2 years, it'll take you 2 years, right? Whatever you think in your mind is true. And that's going to essentially reflect in reality. Because for me personally, I literally thought it was going to take me 30 days to hit 10K a month, right? I was one of those guys watching those Iman Gadzhi videos. Oh yeah, you hit 10K a month in 30 days. And maybe that's kind of doesn't benefit others because it kind of discourages them when they don't hit it. But for me, I was so delusional at the start, and I just thought to myself that it was literally going to take me 30 days, right? So I dropped the university, started my first agency, and it literally took me only 90 days to hit 10K a month. And I got a mentor, and that was pretty much the only reason I actually pulled stuff that fast, was because I had a mentor at the start. So, which actually leads to my next point, which is with paradigms, right? So if you don't have the right information or knowledge and beliefs from a mentor, that's going to slow your growth so much. Now, the whole point of a mentor is essentially to show you the right paradigms and show you the right belief systems and show you how they essentially view the world, right? How they view entire SMA as a whole domain, and all the subdomains as well, like outreach, sales, how to close clients. And for example, let me give you guys another example, right? Let's say you think that handling objections is annoying to all the business owners you're talking to. What's going to happen is you're never going to handle objections. And what's going to happen is you're never going to close deals. And what's going to happen is you're never going to hit 10K a month because of that. So it's very, very, very important you guys have the right belief systems, like I said. Now, obviously, the next thing which ties me into my next point, which I talked about previously, is actually volume / actual stimuli. So when I talk about stimuli is, I mean that you need to be sending the right messages to the business owner. So for example, let me just give you guys a quick example. So we all know the Alex Hormozi classic value equation, right? So obviously, let me just draw it up here. So it is like this. So it's dream outcome times perceived likelihood of achievement. You guys probably can't see this, it's pretty small, but perceived like achievement and then over time delay times effort and sacrifice. So this is the stimuli I'm talking about. So let's just say you're doing outreach to roofers, right? And their dream outcome is an extra 5 roofing jobs a month. So you're gonna say, hey roofer, I could get you 5 roofing jobs a month, like we have for all of our previous clients. Even though if you don't have any, you could use conviction in your voice, which is gonna increase the perceived likelihood of achievement in the next 30 days, which is obviously time delay. And obviously with very low sacrifice and effort on your end. And there's also a few other things you can say as well, right? Another thing is actually zero risk. So if you mention this on a zero risk basis, they're obviously gonna be way more aligned with that statement as well. If you use the right psychological biases, you essentially just win, right? And this is coming into the stimuli stuff. But literally, if you just use the right psychological biases, for example, and also make sure when you're using these, you use it for good, because you pretty much get anyone to do anything you want. So to make sure you guys are using it actually for good and not for bad. But anyways, so in order to understand how to use the right stimuli, you need to obviously understand this equation. Now, obviously having a mentor, he's going to tell you other equations and other psychological biases to use. For example, another psychological bias is using on a zero risk basis. So another example of a psychological bias is the overconfidence bias. So let's say I'm on a sales call with a real estate agent, right? I'm in the real estate niche, which I am actually, and I'm essentially doing Facebook ads for them, or let's just say even Google ads, right? And I'm talking to prospect, right? And I'm going to use the overconfidence bias here. So it's a prospect. I have so much confidence we can do this for you because we've literally done this with all of our clients and they get insane results. And let's just say worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to refund you in full. But I have so much confidence in my ability to deliver the service, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have given you the guarantee in the first place. Now, another example of this is the escalation of commitment bias. So what this means is, let's just say that you ask someone for a piece of gum, right? And then you ask someone for a bigger favor. Now, they're more likely to do that second favor because they've already given the first favor to you, right? There's tons of other biases, but if you use this in SMA, and also just in life in general, you pretty much get anyone to do anything you want. Now, the next thing is actually volume. So this is honestly, like, I'm actually gonna go a bit of a rant here, to be honest, but this is like the biggest thing, because if you are just not going to do volume, and I was actually talking to this guy a few weeks ago, and he's like, oh yeah, I was asking him, like, okay, how many cold calls do you do in a day? It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing like 20 cold calls a day. I'm like, mate, how the fuck are you ever gonna scale if you're doing 20 cold calls a day while your competitors are literally doing like 200 a day, right? So for example, me, when I was first starting out, I was doing insane volume. So I had the right stimuli, I had the right identity, I had the right paradigms and belief systems, right? Obviously, I'm continuing to build these up, but I'll tell you guys a quick story. So when I was first starting out, my mentor told me to do 250 cold calls every single day. Now, he also told me to do 200 looms a day and also 100 Facebook outreaches a day. And I think that was it. We might have tested out a few other things as well, but that was the main ones. Now, the fact that I was doing 250 cold calls a day compared to this guy doing 20 a day literally shows that let's just say I was doing 200 days, just for simplicity's sake with math. I'm going to hit 10K a month 10 times faster than he is, because he's doing 20 a day and I'm doing 200. So for me, it took me 3 months. And let's say for him, it would have taken him 30 months to hit it, which is absolutely insane. So this is the most important part. And if you guys are just not doing any sort of volume, you're going to be fucked. You're never going to make it, because sorry, there's a bunch of flies in the camera's face. So, so volume negates luck, right? This is a very, very important quote. Volume negates luck. So no matter how unlucky I am, if I just do 250 cold calls a day, 200 looms a day, and 100 outreaches a day on Facebook, I'm just automatically going to win, and I'm going to smoke all my competitors. So if any of you guys are focusing on your website or just not focusing on the right things, you're never ever going to make it, because you have to focus on outreach first. That's literally the only thing. Also, the next thing is getting better at sales and obviously doing service delivery, and make sure you do have very good service delivery, because obviously you can use that as case studies later on. The more client results you get, use that in the sales process and also in the marketing process. So it's actually a very, very important part you guys do that. Now, another way to actually increase your identity is start traveling with the world with other entrepreneurs. That's exactly what I did. So after the first 3 months, I hit 10K a month, and I booked a flight straight to Greece and Portugal, actually Portugal first, and then we moved to Greece Villa with my friends Nick and Jordan. And we were just having the absolute time of our lives. And that was the start of last year. And I actually scaled from 0 to 30K a month in 5 months, and I was getting so much hate. And I just realized, okay, these guys are my new friends. Like, these guys are on the same path as me. I've identity formed with them, and we all had new paradigms, new belief systems, all that stuff. And we just kept on scaling, and we literally all scaled from 0 to 100K a month all together in pretty much a year, right? And now we're literally just traveling the world. I'm actually going to go off to Europe with them in a few days, or maybe I think Dubai and Cape Town first, and then I'm going to meet up with them in a few days in Europe. Kind of hit Mykonos, whatever it is. do some fun stuff. But only reason I was able to do all this stuff is because all the stuff in here. And there's obviously so many other factors, but the biggest thing is also having a mentor as well, because if you don't have the right mentor, you're not going to have the right paradigms, not the right identity, because you're not going to be able to talk to anyone who's at a way more high level than you. You're also not going to be doing the right volume, probably not the right stimuli as well. So it's going to take you potentially years to hit 10K a month or 20, 30, 50K a month. Even some guys are at 10K a month right now. And the moment I mentioned them, they literally scale to like 30K a month in the first 2 weeks. So I've done this multiple times. But I'm just giving you guys some examples of why also mentors are very important. Next thing is actually your network as well. Super important as well. The more that you network, which I'm talking about previously with Nick and Jordan, the more you network with high level individuals, the more you're going to scale way faster, right? This is exactly what I'm doing in Dubai, right? And how you actually network is you just have to meet up with certain people. Like, for example, right, I actually met up with Luke Belmore in Dubai, went on dinner, and we were just talking, and it's just crazy, the paradigm jump, right? If someone's making, I'm not going to tell too much, but he's making like a few $1 million per month. Actually, one of my friends connected with him, and he literally got a $2 million per month contract just from marketing a certain coin. I'm not going to tell you guys exact coin because it's private, but it's kind of inside info. But there's so many other examples of this, right? For me, for example, Charlie Morgan, me talking to him, the guy's doing, 800K a month right now. I'm obviously getting there, but I'm not at a certain point yet. But the more I talk to him, the more my paradigm and identity is going to raise. So what you guys have to do is just literally, like I said, cut out all your old friends, jump into that new identity, start hanging out with new high-level people, because you are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. So make sure, very important to do that. Now, besides that, if you do want me to mentor you, I'm happy to help. Obviously, if you guys want to scale extremely fast, I've done like countless times, dozens of times, from even like 1K a month to 10K a month in 13 days, 0 to 30K a month in 60 days, 0 to 50K a month in 90 days. Like there's so many other examples of this. But right now, what I'm doing is actually using the casual confidence bias, because I'm talking about all my experiences with my mentees. I'm also using the social proof bias as well. And I'm also using a few other biases I won't really mention right now. But I'm just saying, once you guys understand these biases, it's very important, use them and you also wear them. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to tell you guys, if you guys are interested, just message me on Instagram at Eric. Happy to help you guys. All good if not, but make sure you guys comment down below. Literally any questions in SMA, I'm happy to help you guys with scaling, whatever it is. And that is essentially it. Make sure you subscribe, and we might go on a quick mountain hike. It's gonna be a pretty fun time. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Really love you guys, and I'll see you guys in Europe probably. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Take care.